All right, so my name is Nelli Ruotsalainen, and I'm here today as part of the Finland Sosiaaliforum. And I represent an organization called Työttömien Valtakunnallinen yhteistoimintajärjestö, TVY, which is the national organization of the unemployed. And TVY currently represents, I think, around 6,000 people across Finland through 100 different member organizations. And today for the Finnish Sosiaaliforum, which the Finnish Sosiaaliforum today has a theme that revolves around work. So it was natural for us to produce this program for the Sosiaaliforum about work and employment. And here in my studio today at LÄHIRADIO, we have several different guests who are going to talk about employment through the lens of integration and gender and migration. And we can take a round now to introduce ourselves.
My name is Maritel Kurittu. I'm originally from Philippines. I have a background in education before I came to Finland and got a job as a personal assistant of a managing director of one of the companies in Finland. And after that I studied nursing, and from then on I developed my nursing professional, and now for about 9 years ago I built home care called Kotimedi, and as we speak we have at least about 50 or 55 employees. Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, let me say something. Mabuhay. I was living in the Philippines for 2 years. My name is Tanya Tynjälä. I come from Peru. I'm a certified language teacher. Actually, I'm a French teacher, but here I'm also teaching Spanish because it's my mother language. And I'm also a science fiction and fantasy writer for children and young adults. Right now, what I'm doing is working in Kallio Library. After coming from the Philippines, it was difficult for me to find a job as a teacher. Before that, I was working for TECOCO, Tecnolinico Kakolu, before being Alto Iliopisto. And I'm also very involved with the cultural, literary scene here in Finland, especially science fiction and fantasy, of course. And I'm also volunteering in Monica Naiset and Naistindinia.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tricia Cleland Silva, and I'm a university lecturer at Hunkin School of Economics in the Department of Management and Organization. I'm also the co-founder and equality consultant for Metaphora. Metaphora works with individual and organizational stories. I'm originally from Canada, but I've been living here in Finland for close to 10 years. I have 2 small children, and I'm married, and I live here in Helsinki.
Yeah, hey, my name is Heidi Hirvonen, and I work at the third sector. I work at the NGO called Monica Naiset, which is Multicultural Women's Association in Helsinki. I'm a project manager who is helping in this project immigrant background woman to find a job.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you everyone for joining us and for introducing yourselves. So I thought that since you guys all kind of opened up your background a little bit, we would delve right into the interesting topics of the day and then see where this conversation takes us. So some of the questions that I had for today was concerning breaking into the labor market as a person who has immigrated to Finland, and that's something that I would like to open up with in terms of like your own experiences as coming to that, but also about what are some of the expectations that exist in the Finnish labor market that are particular to Finnish labor market.
Talking about my experience, I can say that I arrived to Finland 14 years ago, and my experience there was completely different at what had happened now. And I think that is linked with several things, not only with the problem that I'm an immigrant woman. When I arrived the first time, actually, I found a job, my first job, like 2 months after I arrived here, but it was a very little job. And then the Teknilin Korkeakoulu, it was all at the same time. I found a job as a Spanish teacher in the French school. I was giving a course in Helsinki yliopisto and the Teknilin Korkeakoulu, all at the same, part-time teacher, all at the same time. And I was working, and before going to the Philippines, I was working even full-time. No, I came here, and that was completely different. And I think it's linked with the crisis.
With the economic crisis?
Yes, of course, because so it has nothing to do, especially perhaps in my field, that is, I'm teaching foreign languages, so I think that is not linked with the fact that I don't speak Finnish very well, or etc. It's linked with the fact that universities are not hiring people, and it's the opposite. They're
cutting.
Yes, they're cutting. Yes, and for example, now when I was applying, I know that for universities it's very difficult to apply. There are not too much positions, so I'm applying to schools, and they don't even call me for the interview. And I was completely surprised, saying that why? I have a wonderful CV, I have good diplomas. It's perhaps because I don't speak Finnish, and I began to start to feel guilty of that. And then I'm making my PhD, and that's the problem. I'm talking with my tutor, and she told me that that's the problem. She told me that even for the Finns, the ones who have already the master degree in French, Spanish, or whatever, they don't find jobs in schools.
So you have to have a PhD in order to teach?
No, it's the opposite. The most diplomas you have is the worst. She told me that it's the students that are almost finishing the master degree that have the jobs in the schools because they pay less. That's the truth. I have applied recently to Resus Koulu, and they informed us that because of the cuts of the money, they decided not to take any Spanish teacher. So that's the big problem. The problem is the economical situation of Finland. I feel like that. I don't feel that it's because I'm a foreigner, etc. No? So now, for example, working in Kallio Library, as I said, of course, it's just for a time, 6 months. I was working, I found, thanks to Monica Naiset, I found a Tiokokeilu. Now I have a Palkatuki, so I'm going to be working with them almost a year. And of course, they want me to stay, but there's no money to hire me.
So what I'm hearing is that the economic situation has made it
even more difficult.
Yeah, and bad for everyone across the labor market. I just want to open up the two terms that you use there for people who are listening in English. So työkokeilu means like this job trial, where you get a little bit higher unemployment pension than you would otherwise be getting, and the incentive is to kind of get your foot in the door in an organization and then hopefully eventually become employed there. And palkkatuki is a situation where an organization or a company gets help from the officer.
Yes.
In order to incentivize hiring people. So
yes.
I just wanted to open up those two terms.
I came to Finland 2 years before the economic crises, so in 2006, and I find the narratives that you were talking about post-austerity measures or post-financial crises were really quite similar even before this lack of money, lack of budget. I think for a lot of professional foreigners, there's a sense of paralysis and okay, so I don't have enough Finnish, so maybe I shouldn't apply for that job, or maybe I should wait until I'm more qualified. And you're hoping to see that, you know, for lack of better terms, that Finnish unicorn that will, you know, suddenly appear, and you're going to have this job that you've been working so hard for. And I think that sometimes when we talk about economic crises in terms of this abstract notion that it's affecting everyone, or, maybe I'm too qualified. Instead of looking at why are they not hiring qualified people, why are they pushing to de-skill qualified people in the sense that PhD candidates or people with master's degree or higher education are willing to apply for a job because they just need an income. I find that really quite shocking and quite problematic. So it seems like yes, of course, we have to focus on perhaps the individuals learning Finnish and, learning ways to somewhat integrate, I'm saying like in quotation marks right now, integrate into the workforce. But I think it's also important to look at, how the workforce is being managed historically here in Finland, how they've managed migrants. Maybe there's something wrong there.
So, yeah, Maritel.
When I came to Finland 1990, I didn't come empty-handed. So I thought I have to really get involved in this society. So first of all, I studied Finnish language. Intensive, and I have to pay. And intensive means I've taken all the course twice, all the course, just to master the language. And then I volunteered for 2 or 3 summers to work in a nursing home so that I could learn the language. And the language I use is the body language so that I could communicate with the elderly. And then I pursue my... yes, I volunteered in a nursing home, and then I volunteered also in Työväenopisto. I taught English language for unemployed adult people, and I did that against lunch. So they gave me free lunch back then. Then I didn't stop there. I thought I really have to be active, because I cannot. This is a foreign country, and I don't want to feel sorry because I'm a woman. I'm a foreigner. My goodness, I came from Philippines. That's thousands miles away. So when I finished my nursing degree, 1998. Is that right? 1998. Yeah, I lost track now. 1998. When I graduated, I went to Työväenopisto. Where do you get this job?
Te-toimisto.
There, to find information where I could get a job. Okay, and the first thing, and this is so. This is a very, very good opportunity for me to say this, because I've been saying this to everyone I know, that Finland is very generous, very, very generous. I was sitting in front of at the front of the desk, and there was a lady behind it, and then I said, I just graduated. I get a bachelor degree in nursing. I want a job. And then she looked at me, and then she said, "Oh, fill this up. Do you need money?" This is what she said. And I said, "Sorry, I don't need money. I don't need money." And then she went back to the next office room, and I don't know, she went to talk to someone and said, "Are you really sure you don't want support, money financially?" I said, "I don't want. I need job." But it didn't go there. And then after a long discussion, I took back my paper and everything, and I said, "Sorry, I came here to find a job. Just give me the list and I will call myself, and I don't need your money." And then I left.
Wow.
And then from then on, I got my own job. I got a job, all right. I worked in the hospital Helsinki and Espoo. So I think if we are just, proactive as an individual, whatever race you are, I think you can manage wherever you are in the world. I don't know the rest, but
I mean, that's a very impressive story. And
so
the problem that she's talking about, the money, perhaps not money, but I have the impression that and not only for me, because I was talking with a friend in the Kallio library, and she told me that when she finished her master's degree in literature, she went and I want to work in a library, and they were offering her jobs like to sell books and etc. And I saying that because they forced me, but it was good. I have a very good person in charge of my case, but she forced me to put my CV online. I put it online, and I start receiving propositions for working as a, for example, Muslim religion teacher. And I was like, what? Do they think that all foreigners are Muslims or what? And I remember that a friend told me that that's insulting for you and for Muslims, because that means that, okay, whatever, she can go. No? So it's like the system work, but it's a little bit like too much, too systematic. You know, it's like they don't think. No, do you need money? That we resolve everything with money. No, I don't need money. I want a job. But they think that everything is.
When we talk about money, you have to be a very particular immigrant. You already have to have a social security number. You have to be, I don't know, have a permanent resident or A status. Like, for instance, if you're a student or you're here on temporary status, which is B status, you don't get any of the money from the government, nor do you get any benefits from Kela, even healthcare. So it's really important to, it doesn't matter how hard you work as an individual if you don't have these resources accessible to you in Finland. It'd be really difficult.
And I think, Tanya, that other point was really important too. When you said that not all the immigrants are at the same group, and if you think about immigrant background woman, you cannot type, this is one type, because their group is huge. There is people with no education and high education. Yes,
and different needs. Because, for example, what you were saying make me think that that's my experience, because actually I have a French diploma. I don't have a Peruvian diploma. And for example, for applying for the PhD, it was very easy because I have an European diploma.
Exactly.
And some friends that have as good level of education as me, but have a Peruvian diploma, they are forced to make again the master degree. So it's different. The needs of the people are different also. No, so somehow I feel more linked with the problematic of Finnish women over 50 trying to find a job than which most of the foreign women, because I have friends that told me the same. She told me that once she got her her PhD, nobody wants to hire her because they think that, okay, she's going to be expensive as a teacher or something like that. So I'm feeling this problematic for me in my case. So there are different problematics, and it's important to see like that, because yes, when they offer me, as I said, the Muslim religion teacher job, it means that for them that everybody is the same. No? So okay.
Exactly. And it almost seems like Finnish organizations and those people who are employing, and then also the organizations that are reaccrediting people, or at least acknowledging qualifications, they're trying to catch up with this changing of migration groups. Like, there wasn't that many immigrants in the 1980s or the 1990s when you were here, Maritel. And now it's changing completely, that people are moving here with master's degrees and PhDs. They're moving beyond family ties, for instance, or even refugee or asylum seeking. So it's almost like the rest is trying to catch up with the flows of these people coming in, and we're not going anywhere. So hopefully things will change.
When you talk about social and healthcare sector, where I am, I handled recruitment in Kotimedi, and I've seen a lot of foreigners. they come to our office looking for a job, and they are not just newly graduate from what is this now in English? Practical nurse, which is in Finnish lähihoitaja, but they have master's degree, and they even have a doctoral degree. And so my role is that, okay, here is now a very highly educated person, and I'm not just saying a different line of education, but this is a nursing degree with a master's degree and a medical doctor degree. So now when they come to me, and personally I have this like longing to help these people, and because I've been in their shoes, and I want them to be integrated in the society, because you cannot manage to be in Finland, let alone being a foreigner in Finland. So what happened was that I try to give these people way what to do, what you can do so that you can get where you wanna go. Personally, and Kotimedi, we cannot help each and everyone who come to me. So unfortunately, I don't see any trouble at all, as we discussed, Nelly, women being hired and equally in Finland. I don't see any problem at all, because as long as you speak the language, I've employed a lot of foreigners from Africa, Filipinos, Chinese. We got from Russia, from Estonia, and they are really good people. They're really good people. Well, of course, you can see bits here and there problems, but hey, they can actually perform if you just give them an opportunity.
There's something I'm hearing here just about the language is that earlier, Maritel, you said that you paid for language courses that you went to, and I would like to ask Heidi, maybe who works with this Osaavat Naiset for Monika Naiset, to talk about what kind of, like when you come to Finland and if language requirements are considered. Very important, what kind of language courses are being offered and where are they being offered? Are they free, and how do you get into them?
Maybe we can answer together with Tanya, but in my opinion, what I have seen in my work, there is not enough language courses, and there should be more language courses to highly educated people, because the level of studying is really important when you're trying to learn a foreign language. So that's the one point. And then you mentioned the activity, that you have to be really active by yourself too. That's very important too, because you can learn the language also in other ways. And for example, if you have a practical training place or työkokeilu, there is opportunity to learn language too by doing something which is really important to you too in the work life. Maybe it's not just exactly in your area, but would you add something, Tanya?
Yes, what we were talking earlier, that a friend that because of these cuttings, she's a lawyer and she lost her job recently. So they offer her, of course, different things, and one of the things was a course for Finnish for professionals, and she already speaks Finnish, so it's just and she was very disappointed, and she told me that not only her but other people that were professionals in that course, because all the experiences, and we are getting to the same point, that they think that all the foreigners are the same, that all the experience, all the texts were about this Vietnamese that came from his country, opened a restaurant, and now he's a successful businessman. And they were saying, okay, that's true, but it's not all. there are different kind of foreigners here. So she was a little bit disappointed. What about a lawyer who find a job like her, for example, that she was working for different organizations? No. What about a doctor? No. What about this kind of people and the struggles they got to find a job because they didn't speak the language at first, etc. No. What about those people? No. All is about the businessmen who open a restaurant, and so it's a little bit frustrating. Yes.
And where is the primary provider of language courses? Are they in these työväenopisto? Does Monikanaiset have their own language courses? And another further question is, what time of the day are these organized, and do they provide also an opportunity for childcare?
Työväenopisto offers, of course, Finnish courses, and also, of course, the first place is TA office. But if you don't get right away a Finnish course at your level from TA office, then you can ask it from Työväenopisto, and you have to pay a certain amount for that. But the third sector is really active for that. And for example, our NGO is offering Finnish courses from beginning of 0 level to next level, which is when you can speak. Yeah. And those courses at the daytime, but we cannot offer childcare. So, but City of Helsinki, they have some new project which is giving also a childcare, which is a great idea, because then it's possible to also women who are mothers and have stayed at home a long time, so they have possibility to combine two things, to learn Finnish and take their children with them.
TE-toimisto offered me some Finnish courses for my level, because actually I think that I understand quite well Finnish. But because I'm a language teacher, perhaps it's difficult for me to speak, making a lot of mistakes, etc. So I have problems. So I was very happy, but then I got the työkokeilu, and it was impossible for me to link, because it was a long hours also, the courses. Just twice a week, but it was like 4 or 6 hours, and then go to work, and no, it was difficult. But yes, I think that for example, when I arrived here, they advised me not to go to työväenopisto, because there was the cheapest courses. So there were different kind of people going there, people that perhaps didn't even write the Latin alphabet, and it was very complicated. So I also pay my course in the University of Helsinki, that is very, very expensive, but it was very good. And then I discovered also something called Helsingin Aikuisopisto. It's a little bit cheaper, more expensive than the työväenopisto, but it's not as expensive as other private courses. And there are also the libraries offering these language cafes. So you can go and talk and learn a little bit, but they say that you can go from level 0, but I think that it works better if you know a little bit, so you can practice there. So there are different possibilities to practice. Those cafes are for free.
Okay.
So
Maritel, you work in the healthcare sector, and I've also done some research in the recruitment of people to the healthcare sector in Finland, which to me seems like there's a constant need for people to work. So there's a lot of employment opportunities there. How important is Finnish language there when you work as a healthcare professional, and what level do you need to reach in order to be qualified?
Personally speaking, when I started to work in the hospital, my Finnish back then was not perfect at all. So I think as long as you can manage, and you can manage with the daily discussions with your patients, with your colleagues, as long as you don't talk politics, let's I'm not an expert at which level you should be in to be able to work in healthcare sector, but now as an employer, I basically required that one should really speak good Finnish, because we work in home care setting, and it's very different. You are on your own with the client, and not with you don't have anyone around, so you need to manage on your own. So we have clients required an English-speaking person. So there I am so pleased always to give work to a foreigner who just landed in Finland just a year later, and then now studying. So, well, it kind of boosts their self-esteem. But with the Finnish language, I'm still struggling. I've been in Finland since 1990. They say that my Finnish is very good, but I struggle with my Finnish sometimes. My dictionary is not that wide, but I manage so well. So I think every foreigner, a man or a woman, as long as they have the courage and the desire to be part of the Finnish society, I think there's no reason to say, oh, no, I can't do this, I can't manage with this. No, actually you can.
So Tricia, I'm interested in your research. Maybe you could talk a little bit about, you just submitted your PhD and you looked at how labor is managed in the healthcare field in Finland. So I would be interested to hear how, just some of your thoughts on your PhD, and maybe also take this language perspective on how it's used to manage people in these fields. Or
I don't know how much I can talk about the Finnish language. I think we've covered quite a lot of it right now, but I just finished my PhD. I looked at the recruitment and placement of Filipino nurses, the active recruitment and placement of Filipino nurses by Finnish private companies. But it was during the year 2008 to 2010, so I also took into account ministries and other public actors and how they spoke about this actual recruitment. In the end, these private companies were saying that they were going to recruit hundreds and thousands from the Philippines, registered nurses, to work in elderly care facilities. But in the end, it was only 5 groups, and it was 75 registered nurses that they recruited. I think I think 25-30 went into surgical wards in hospitals, municipal hospitals here in Helsinki and Tampere, and then the rest went to elderly care facilities.
So when you said that they were planning on recruiting hundreds, if not thousands, of nurses to work in Finland, who was they, and why was there a need to recruit so many labor from outside of Finland?
They were private companies. So there was a private recruitment agency, and there was also a private elderly care facility that was the one that had the most need for these nurses. So these companies collaborated and went to the Philippines and specifically selected what they needed back here in Finland. And there was a lot of talk about how it was done ethically, and it was, especially in terms of European Union standards. But it was the idea that these nurses were being recruited with bachelor degrees in nursing science. A lot of them were extremely experienced, having sometimes 10 to 20 years work experience in hospitals and in various specialized professions. And then when they came here, they were expected to work as practical nurses and requalify themselves as practical nurses, which is a lower degree than the registered nurses. So, yes, it was done ethically. Yes, they had contracts before they came here, and they were paid the same amount as a practical nurse here in Finland. But at the same time, something got lost in that transfer from one country to the next, and that was, you know, the acknowledgement of this work experience, but also the acknowledgement of these qualifications. And also, lastly, the acknowledgement that these people were going to have to put in very long hours to not only make a living within their occupation here in Finland, but also to learn Finnish and requalify. And yes, these people were very motivated, of course. You know, this is a great opportunity to come and to make a living and maybe buy a home. A lot of times there was conversation about buying a home and bringing your family over here. But, you know, what is the limit of the working day? What is the limit of the expectations just because you're from another country? And also, a lot of these people came over without their families. You know, they were hired specifically because they were family-oriented and they were caring. There was very particular attributes as to why they qualified for these positions. But then all of a sudden they were expected to leave their families to come here with the hope that they could bring their families over here eventually. And that might have to do with the actual recruitment, but I think it also has to do with the way that things are organized, not just here in Finland, but globally, like how qualifications are recognized, how people are expected to migrate as what type of worker. You know, a lot of the times it's just better if you don't have kids or you don't have a marriage. So you can put the time and effort into the organizations or requalify yourself for the needs of the client. And I find once I finished my PhD, I found these inequalities, these global or transnational inequalities, very apparent. They were very, they emerged a lot in the data, and I think it's something that needs to be talked about when we talk about how we should integrate. I use that word very loosely because everyone knows that I don't like that word, but integrate people locally, and in this case here in Finland. So yes, you know, we can talk a lot about the language. Language is important, and now that I've lived here for 10 years, and my daughter, who's turning 5, she speaks fluently in Finnish, and sometimes I'm like, I'm wondering what she's talking about right now because I have no clue, and that gives me such a desire to learn the language. I also have a lot of Finnish friends that I love, and I want to learn more about their life stories and learn more about their culture and their language. But I don't want to feel like in order to be treated equal here, I need to learn this language when the barriers are something a little bit more deeper and something apparent, but no one wants to talk about them.
Yeah. Just quickly, what I'm hearing from Tricia too is kind of what Maritel and Tanya, you were already echoing earlier about this de-skilling. Maritel, you were saying that you were hiring people to work with qualifications that were a lot more than what they had for the specific job, and Tanya, you were talking about that. Also, in the case of the TE office, which is actually now has this practice where they send you these job offers, and if you don't take them or if you don't apply for them, you're at risk of losing your unemployment benefits if you're entitled to them. So this is just part of something that's happening currently in Finland because of our current government. So I think that this is, Maritel, you were going to say something. Was it about?
No, I just so very important what Tricia said. First of all, when Finland started hiring nurses here in Finland, I think they weren't thinking of the future. They were just thinking of the problem now. So they didn't really this is only because I have the opportunity to know some of these nurses, because we have also put up a Filipino nurses club in Finland, and through that got to know most of these people who have been hired, and without us as their network, in Finland, I think they will be all lost, and Finland will just wasted money and effort. So when we heard that they're gonna come to Finland, and I was so elated, I was so happy, and I thought, okay, this is good. This is good because we lack nurses soon, if not later. But as you said, Tricia, that they weren't really they weren't really fulfill what they have promised to these people. So it's really sad. It's really sad. But personally, it's also sad that, like me as an employer, I would give a job for a nursing, a person who has a master's degree in nursing as a personal assistant or henkilökohtainen avustaja because of the language, and it hurts. Deep inside me, it hurts that, hey, this is my colleague. This is one of my colleagues now, and has a master's degree in nursing, cannot get a job. Mm-hmm. So it's really, really sad.
Mm-hmm. So that does have to do with what Tricia mentioned here, with these like deeper inequalities that aren't talked about as much. So the language barrier is kind of like something that's slapped on the surface, and then underneath it is this where the degree from Peru isn't recognized as much as a European degree. And
I know the case of a girl who speaks very well Finnish, and she is one of the who was forced to make her master degree again here because she got a diploma from Peru. So the language was not the problem at that moment. It's the idea, because it's an idea of in our countries, we don't have a good education like here in Europe. Yeah. And one of my courses in Tekoko was intercultural communication, and I was talking about these differences and these stereotypes, etc. And I was saying that that's an idea. We have a very, very good level of education. Mm-hmm. You know what's the difference? Where is the inequality in our countries? That you have to pay for that education. Mm-hmm. If you don't have money, you're going to go to a public school and then to a public university, and you are not going to have the same level of education of one who go to a private school or to a good private university, because there's also these private schools and private universities that almost give you the diploma because your father is a lawyer, so you are going to work as a lawyer as him. No? So that's also a problem in our own countries. Mm-hmm. No, that how would they know here in Finland if this is a real good diploma or this is this kind of diplomas? Yeah, no. So they put everybody in the same level. So I think that globalization is good, but everybody has to make their job. Meaning that you want a real globalization, you have to realize that this globalization, it's more like a glocalization, no? So that in different levels and etc. So not everybody's in the same level. No.
If I may say, one recently happened in Kotimedi. There was a lady from Africa. She left her business in Africa to be married with a Finnish guy, and now she's studying to be a practical nurse or lähihoitaja. And she wanted to have a job because what she receives from the government is not enough. So she wanted a job better than receiving money. And I thought, wow, this is good. This is good. Okay, I'm gonna give you work. just few hours here and there. But I've tested her, and then she was crying one day to me and said, Maritel, I haven't finished my degree because I feel that I have been mistreated in the school. And I said, no, don't say that. And she thinks that it's a case of racism. And I said, no, that's not at all. And then it's true. I spoke with the teacher, and then I said, okay, I'll give you a chance. I said, this is what you have not done yet. I will give you a chance. You come and train in our company, and I will help you finish your degree. And then she said, and she was so happy, and she said no one had given her a chance like that. And you know why I gave this chance, this opportunity to this lady? Because I saw how good working she is, how she shows empathy, and how I see that she will be a future practical nurse, if not nurse, in Finland. She's young, so I gave that opportunity to her, and a few numbers of friends, foreigner friends, I could count that I have managed to persuaded them to study nursing, because I know that lack of nurses in Finland is happening, and it's gonna happen, and when it's gonna happen, we are in trouble. So and this is now somehow I feel that it's my role, and so I just hope that there will be more opportunities really for foreigners.
I was just thinking that this is quite an interesting shift in the labor market, because lots of people talk about this, but Helsinki is a small city, and sometimes they say, if you know someone, it's easier to get a job, or if you know someone, it's easier to get resources or grants or what have you. It seems like, there's a shift in the labor market, that there's different ethnicities or different nationalities coming in, and they're hiring people that they perceive as good workers, or that they perceive as the ideal worker within the nursing care profession. So maybe it's a way to diversify the workforce by making the employers and the managers more diverse, that it's not just one specific nationality.
Something about what she was saying that made me think of these language courses again. She was saying that the poor girl misunderstood and thought that she was mistreated and there was a racism problem. And I think that one thing that is lacking in the language courses is intercultural communication courses, because and not and normally when they think that is like that, they talk about Finns, we like to go to sauna, and we like to and it's not that. It's the fact that you have to know when somebody wants to go out of the bus. When you see somebody putting the gloves, okay, I just move because he's not going to tell you, sorry, I want to go out. Things like that can be misunderstood as being impolite or etc. I remember that because that was part of my curricula as a language teacher when I was studying, and I knew that, and I was always saying to my husband that thanks to that course I didn't divorce you, because I was going to get crazy about the things he was making. And but even like that, even if you know it in theory, because I remember that the first week I went to teach in Tekoko, I returned home crying, and I said to my husband, the students hate me. They don't talk to me, I make jokes, they don't laugh, etc. They are just copying and copying and copying and copying. And say, that's the way we do. And I say, I know, but anyway, it's hard.
Yeah.
So even if you know that bother you, imagine if you don't know. It's like in the Philippines, for example. I was thinking, are they are they making fun of me or what? Because I say, do you have a refrigerator? And they say, yes, ma'am. And they show me oven. I want a refrigerator. Do you have it? Yes, ma'am. Show me a vacuum cleaner. And then it took me a while to realize that in Asia, saying no is unpolite. So they are going to tell you yes, and then when you finally force them to say no, they are going to say like a little bit more, and they are going to be, no, please forgive me. Oh, no problem. No. But it was very funny because at the beginning I was saying that, what happened? I don't speak very well English, or I'm stupid, or they are stupid. What happened? And then I realized that. So when they start to give me a lot of explanations, I realized that, okay, you don't have it, isn't it? Because they don't want to say no, because it's impolite to say no. You know, they are always going to say yes, and yes means, yes, I hear you. It does not mean, yes, I understand you, or yes, I have what you want. No, so these kind of things are very important to know, because that's more problematic than not knowing the language. It's not knowing why people are acting like that. No, as I said, you feel like you are stupid, or they are stupid, or something is wrong.
But Maritel and Tricia are both laughing.
Yeah, I had a very good experience. I was working in a hospital, and I went to our cafeteria room, and my colleagues were sitting, and I entered the room, and they were quiet. They were quiet, and I was thinking, oh, are they talking about me? And then my husband said, I said to him about this. I said, every time I enter the coffee room, they were talking, and then when I entered, they were so quiet. And then he said, no, they are Finnish. They are Finnish people. They don't really talk to one another. So the next time I went, and I know, okay, I know what to do now. So I started, telling jokes and stories, and then that's when
little by little.
That's when I get to know these people, and that's when my job got easier. When you get, and that's true. I think that's what needed here.
But I was just thinking too, with this, so much happens when you migrate, right? And I think that talking about it in terms of, we should talk about these intercultural communications. Because, maybe you don't have a husband to go home to and say, like, why aren't they looking at me this way? And then you kind of embody that feeling of, like, rejection or what have you. And I think amongst immigrants and immigrant women, because that's what we're talking about today, there is high rates of anxiety and depression here in Finland, and it's something that needs to be talked about, not only about integrating you into the workforce, but how are you adjusting? How are you adjusting to the culture? How are you adjusting to this new way of living?
Actually, that's what we do in our project. We have this personal counseling, and then we have these small workshops for women who are trying to find a job. And we are talking very lot about Finnish work life, how to apply a job, which is a normal way to act as when you try to get contact to different people. And then we give a lot of social support, and we talk about these situations, what you have, for example, mentioned here, because it's really important to get the words for this and get examples and hear other stories and have a room for these questions.
Because a lot of us professional women, we migrated here in our 20s and our 30s, so we were socialized in a very particular culture. And we were also socialized to interact in a particular way in public settings, so teaching or like with friends or, on a bus, for instance. And it's so a big part of our identity. So when it's completely turned upside down, as it is here in Finland. Like, I was told I smile too much, and maybe you're laughing a little too loud. I'm like, how can you laugh too loud? But it's just because of this embracing of silence. People are just so accustomed to be so reserved. But it's about realizing that that's okay. Your differences are okay. You're going through a phase of adjustment, and that's okay. People aren't going to hate you. Hopefully not. I hope not. But people, shouldn't.
As an employer, it's so important that all my clients are well served, and I always tell to each employee, especially foreigners, I say that I always warn them that though these clients, mostly they are Finnish, they don't smile at you, they don't talk. I said, that doesn't mean they don't like you. So I said, you just get on with it and just smile and try to be, friendly, and then little by little the walls that between you and the client will start breaking apart, and that's when you really develop a good relationship. And this is me as an employer, I don't need to teach this. I don't need to say this. We are all adults, I said, but it's so important for me in this, especially when you're building a business such as small as this home care. So.
Absolutely. So more intercultural communication. I think this also has to do with the requirement of integration. We often posit this term as something that the person who has immigrated has to do, and we don't think at all about the people who are already here and how we should also adjust our perception so there's only integration as a one-way thing and not integration as like maybe there should be more job training and how there can be intercultural communication for people who are already at settings and are not the ones coming from, like, quote, the outside. That's something to think about. But Heidi, I would like to hear more about this Osaavat Naiset project, because it seems like it is clearly a project that's come from a need. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist. And so could you tell us a little bit more about what the project is, how long it has been going, and what kind of paths to employment does it offer? And then I'm also curious, do you work directly with these institutions like the TE office? And do you have direct contacts with them? And Tanya, of course, I would like to hear your opinions too and experience.
Yes, this project has been going on almost 4 years, and it's located here in Helsinki and Vantaa, and now in the beginning of this year, Espoo too. And the founder of the project is TA office, so we are really closely working with TA office, and we are trying to give as much as support we can to immigrant background women who are trying to find a job. So basically last year over 100 women found a job in this Helsinki or Vantaa area. It's of course it's not a big amount of people, but in the end, if we think that that's a beginning of like a path as a working life in Finland, it's of course you can see it can be a little bit differently thought. We give a personal counseling, we are holding workshops, and we do work together with we go to the different employees, we are calling them, we are organizing interviews, and we give a different kind of support, for example social support, because very often women who come to our office, they say that I don't have any papers, my Finnish is not good enough, I don't know what to do here, I don't know how to use my knowledge and how to use my profession here in Finland, and I don't find a Finnish course, please help me. And that's what we do. It's really concrete, but it's really important work, because we are trying to find a path in here in this labor market, in this situation. And as I can say that we give a hope to people, because we are trying to discuss with them so they will find their own strengths and our own competences, because the competences can be really different. Some of them has a PhD and some of them has been in school 3 years, so it's a really different situation what you can have.
Have the people who have come through your program managed to find employment, not only any employment, just to guarantee an income, which in itself is of course important, but have they managed to find employment through your services that correspond with their prior skills and education and also their interests?
Of course, but many of them has to take one step behind before that happens, and there you need a lot of support, because it's it needs a lot of strength to understand that I really have the competence, I have maybe the education, and I just can't go further. So the process is not always short, and there is many steps, but at the end, when you find your own profession and you find your own place here, it's our goal.
And so the path looks something like coming into the realm of your services and then maybe doing one of these job trials and then hoping that can secure a future employment.
Yes, it depends on the situation. Like Tanya told that she has been in the työkokeilu first, and after that she got the palkkatuki, and after that she really has a different situation in here.
And currently the Finnish government is planning on cutting almost all funding to this palkkatuki system.
Yeah, that's a little bit, that's really scary.
So how do you, from the perspective of a third sector organization that is kind of in a key position in being in between the open labor market and the people who are unemployed, how do you perceive the position of your organization in this current economic situation with the current government policies that are clearly putting the burden of unemployment on unemployed people by taking away these services and giving these mandatory TE office? You have to apply for this job as a Muslim religion teacher, even if you have nothing to do with it, or you have to take this job as a cleaner if you have a PhD, and if you don't apply for, you're at risk of losing your unemployment benefits, which is what's going on right now. How do you think it's gonna? Do you think your organization will be able to provide these services, or how do you see this might jeopardize the people who are coming into your services?
I think it's, as you said before, that it's important to be really strong with by yourself. You have to be really active, and you have to have a vision what do you really want to do yourself, because you cannot just take these offers and do what is said if it's not fitting to your education and what you can do here. Or what do you think?
Or what do you like?
Yeah, or what do you like?
Because I'm aware that working in the cardio library is not exactly fit my education, but you know, for a writer, working in a library is like working in heaven. And I'm very lucky that the people, the team is wonderful. I mean the children's and music section, so exactly in the right place for me, and the people are wonderful, so they are offering me, for example, readings from in Spanish or in French for children, things like that. So activities, I'm just not feeling the books and etc. So I think that it's good, but as you said, I have to realize that I'm not finding any job as a teacher, so but even like that is difficult, because I have even applied for being assistant in Päiväkoti, knowing that I'm overqualified. But as you said, it's not sometimes people don't understand. I just need the money.
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
my case, the problem is that I became a widow 2 years ago. So my economical situation, everything changed. One of the reasons when I returned from the Philippines is that I didn't find a job, or I didn't continue my job, is because I wanted to finish my PhD. And right now, that's not my priority. You see, so that's why I say that I just need a job or whatever. No, but yes, let's say that is difficult.
And in the other hand, as you said, if when the longer the time is what you are unemployed, the harder it's to find a new job. That's true.
Yes.
So sometimes it's wise to take some.
Yes.
And in between.
Yes, and in this case, as I said, it's a good step back, because anyway, I'm even having a plus, as I said to the people that I'm working with, that I'm learning a lot about Finnish children's literature that I didn't know. So
And you have been also really active as a volunteer in different NGOs. So while you were without job, you were doing all the time something. There was not a day.
Yes, she said something that is very important. You have to be really proactive. You cannot just sit down and cry.
I think I am a living example as a foreigner in Finland. There is an opportunity for every single person And as a foreigner in Finland, I managed to show a good example. And when I started planning to set up a nursing home, that was my first plan, but it takes a lot of financial what's the term now? I got lost.
Investment.
Yeah. So I thought I'll start from home care, and not everyone welcomed the idea. Not everyone kind of backed me up. The only person really backed me up is my husband. It was hard. It was hard because when you answer the phone, this is a foreigner. Where are you from? That's the very first thing the caller would. Did I call the right place, the right number? And yes. Olen sairaanhoitaja. But you see, it's so difficult to really break the wall. It's really difficult. But because I am what I am, and I managed to do that, and I encourage everyone, every single immigrant, women, men, I think we have a place in the world, in Finland.
Mm-hmm. I have to say something now that you are talking about that I think is important, because we are talking about the te-toimisto. Mm-hmm. Actually, now that I have changed to another, because I was in, I don't know where, down in Itäkeskus, and I have a wonderful girl. This Muslim was the system, the internet that offered me, not her. She was helping me. She was very active and very quickly to do all the paperwork and she was the one who told me that now that they have, because I made the Tio Kokeilu 3 months. No, and I was going to make 3 months more, and she told me, tell them that you can have palkatuki. So she was the one who told me that, So wonderful. But I'm also have a toiminimi, and what I have a struggle, I don't know if you have the same experience, is with this Helsinki yrittäjät.
So the Helsinki Entrepreneurial Association.
Yes, because when I went to talk about my project, etc., with the idea of earning a little bit of money extra that I'm doing, because I have some private courses. I just came from one of those. They were making things so complicated, that I was saying, oh my God, what I have done. And they make an incredibly crazy, with this
checklist.
Not checklist, but how much do I have to pay? So
like a business investment plan or startup funding, or
no, the opposite. How much I have to charge my because I have to consider electricity and etc. and etc.
A business plan, but breaking down of costs.
And they told me that I have to charge my students 180 euros. That nobody's going to pay me for 1 hour of teaching, And I was saying, what's that? And then in the practical thing, I realized that it was not so complicated. Because, for example, I have to earn at least 77,000 euros to pay the YEL and all these taxes. And I'm not forced to pay if I don't earn that. And I'm not earning that because, as I said, that is like an extra. No, but they were telling me that you have to pay this, you have to do this, you have to do that. So it was so difficult that I was like, oh my God, it's crazy what I have done.
Miscommunications. I don't think that has to do with Finnish language or speaking.
No.
I think that it's very... Well, we all know that there's a lot of paperwork here and it's very bureaucratic, and sometimes it gets difficult for non-Finnish speakers because sometimes you'll get it in English or Swedish or majority of the times it's going to be in Finnish. And with this Helsinki enterprise as well, I think it's a new initiative, and I think that they're just pretty much complying with the system, what is expected, like this Mela insurance, this entrepreneurial insurance, and then taxes, and how do you register yourself for taxes, and you have to be registered in the trade register. So it's bureaucratically quite a labyrinth. And if you're not talking to the right people, you can get lost and you can feel like, you know, what's the point? I would rather put more time into something that I understand, like my courses or working here. I got a job here, so why would I put time into becoming an entrepreneur, even though that may be the path of empowerment?
Exactly.
And when we look at the three of you, I mean, Tricia is also a co-founder of a very recently established business, yeah. And you have a toiminimi, and Maritel, you have Kotimedi. So my partner is also not from Finland and is thinking about starting a business maybe. So like, I'm wondering if this, in this economic situation in general, is the where people are going, because it's not uncommon for me to hear my generation. Earlier today I was talking about youth unemployment in Finland, and it's huge, and it's on the rise too, regardless of where you're from, if you're young. And so it's interesting to hear about the kind of challenges that might be in a path that seems like the only viable path to employment and self-employment and that kind of empowerment. Yeah, for foreigners, it's almost like a double whammy. Like it's good for a sense of empowerment. Like you really feel like you're doing something that you want to do. It's like you created your own vocation. But it's about learning, taking the risk of starting a business, which is scary, I think, anywhere in the world. But then taking a risk as a non-local, starting up your business and trying to find a niche in a market that's not, your cultural market. For us, when we established Metaphora, we saw something so needed in Finland for ourselves. That's where it started. We were like, we want a service like this, and that's where it came from, and that drove me and my husband to establish this business. And I think if the drive wasn't there, I don't think we would have gotten through that labyrinth of a Helsinki enterprise, or, breaking down your costs and applying for taxation and what have you in order to successfully be recognized. It's not about being successful, financially. It's about being just checking the boxes, because if you don't, then you're going to suffer the following year for taxations or for what have you.
Yes, I think that the problem is that in all the levels, I think that is that following the rules too much, because, for example, this guy was telling me that if you get sick, you have to hire another teacher to replace you.
Yeah.
I have private lessons. If I get sick, I call my student. I say, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And you have to consider. And you have to consider the price of this girl in your. So of course it was 180 euros. So crazy thing like that. That yes, they are right. It's like that. Yes, they are right. You have to consider electricity, etc. But what? When you are starting, you have to make sacrifices. So I don't care if I have to pay for my photocopies, because I have the photocopy machine at home. So I'm not taking in consideration that when I planning how much I have to charge my clients, but they don't.
Yeah, it's such a paradox. Like, take a risk, establish a business, but let's do it safely. So make sure all the costs are covered.
Heidi, in Mukana, are there people who come into your program that are interested in pursuing an entrepreneurship, or do you provide pathways to that also?
Yes, very many are, like Tanya, for example, but we are trying to give as much as information we can, because in Helsinki city offers a lot of information too, and we have this Yritys Helsinki and other services like that, and you can have the info in different languages. So,
okay. Wonderful. And so we're kind of coming to the end of our hour and a half here almost. And if anyone's just tuning in right now to LÄHIRADIO, this is TVY panel at Finland Social Forum. And we've been talking about what it means to come to Finland, specifically as a woman, and what requirements the Finnish labor market has in terms of integration, and who or where that term comes from and what does it entail. And we've heard very interesting personal stories and also professional stories. And some of the stuff that's come up during this time that I've just kind of taken notes of, as that it might help that if there's more diversity in management positions, like Maritel here was talking about being in the position to employ people and to give people an opportunity and to empower them when they have first come here. And then we also heard how important it would be to have intercultural communication, to not only say that Finns go to sauna and this is the language, but to really understand both ways. So I think Finnish as a Finn, yes. I think that Finnish people need to open up yes. and understand that it's not about people just coming here and integrating, but we need to also be integrated.
Receptive,
yeah. And then we heard from monikanaiset, and you have the skill-based path to labor where you recognize people's skill and then their own interests and help people get employed through that way. And then, but we started with saying that the economic situation is terrible for everyone, regardless of who you, or whether or not you're foreign, but that there might be, or whether or not you have immigrated in here. So I'm wondering if it would be a good time to have just like final words for people, or something that you would like to say in the end to kind of recap what we've been talking about here. And
I just want to say thank you for making this possible, because I think that we were able to generate a really interesting dialogue and hear each other's stories. But this is unfortunately quite rare when we're talking about human resource management, or when we're talking about decision making at a political level here in Finland, or like what services to be provided to professionals or people who are not professionals. And in regards to Finnish language, getting feedback on like, are these courses effective? I don't think we hear enough stories from the people that are actually receiving these services and actually experiencing these things in the labor market, but also in their own personal lives, adjusting to culture, adjusting to, being away from their home country, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that there should be more opportunities like this.
Yes, I agree with that, because I feel sometimes that we are seeing as objects of study and not really subjects. No, so it's the idea of what things think that we need. No, I think that for me it's more clear, especially as a writer. No. I have several books published in Spanish. My books are reading in several countries in Latin America, in schools. One of my latest book has won some kind of prize, something like that, in Peru. So they are going to publish 4,000 copies to be distributed in all the public schools in Peru. One of my stories has been translated into French and is in a Belgium school book for secondary school, things like that. And I feel that I'm not so invited as a foreign writer. I feel really like I have more contact with, as a science fiction writer, etc. I'm more respected as a foreign writer. And I was complaining once with somebody, and then we opened Helsinki Sanomat, and you see, I saw that they are expecting foreign writers to talk about how difficult is the situation in their country, how great it is to come to Finland and to be free to write about what. And what about the normal writer than me?
Yeah.
What about them? No, that's not important. If you don't talk about politics or things like that, you are not interesting, And I feel like in the field of foreign writers, I don't feel that I well respected. I think that I'm more respected in Helsinki Kirjailijat, when each time they have something, I say, I want to participate. Yes, okay, without saying that in which language or nothing, But in the community of French writers, I know that I'm going to have problems saying that with a lot of friends, but it's true that I feel that I'm not, even though I have more publications, serious publications, and I well consider in Spanish language as a children's writer, I'm not so invited because I'm not talking about this politics and complaining, and I think that that's also the problem, that Finns in general are expecting we go to the same point, that they are expecting that all foreigners are the same, meaning that politic refugees, poor, uneducated women that married a Finn to escape the situation of their country. And so what about the rest? We feel like nobody, but you're normal, so it doesn't matter. No? You are too European for us, so it doesn't matter your problem. So we feel a little bit like, what? So what about us? You know, that's the problem. I think that we have to consider that not all the foreigners, we are the same. I'm sorry.
That's really important, and thank you for inviting us here. I think too that it's really important to have discussions like this, and we should have more of these, because like one of my clients said that when is this integration process going to end? And she had been living in Finland over 20 years, and she said that she would like to be a person who is been listened, not always taught what to do and how to fix these problems. And
exactly.
Yeah, thank you, Nelly, for inviting me to. Although I thought it's not my place to say anything about women immigrant, but thank you so much. And immigrants nowadays are very lucky because of these services available. Back in 1990, I didn't hear anything about this, and I did it on my own. I found my way in, and so nowadays, hey, this is like heaven. but thank you so much, Nelly.
Yes, thank you very
thank
much.
you everyone for being here. So we have Maritel, Kurittu, and Tanya, Tynjälä, and Tricia, Cleland, Silva, and Heidi, Hirvonen. And my name is Nelli Ruotsalainen. There goes my headset. And we are at LÄHIRADIO, and so if we need more conversations like this, and I fully agree with everyone, maybe we can just pitch this idea to LÄHIRADIO about a weekly program, or at the very least get these events outside also of the framing of being immigrant women. And I also struggled with that when I called this panel into question, because I knew that these conversations don't exist enough, but I didn't want to trip in the same, let's put everyone in the same pile. So I'm really happy that everyone has highlighted that today for us here and for all of our many listeners for the panel today. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.